It's a hard thing to talk about. It's what it is when you're growing up during our time. I always say this, like during our time, you don't talk about family in public. You just don't do it, especially like you got a Filipino mom and, you know, the traditions were different, you know what I mean? And you keep that kind of stuff to yourself.
But even more importantly, and the reason I was bringing it up today is that my soapbox is mental health.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem from our generation.
Yeah, our generation.
You're one generation. I think you're much younger than I am.
Yeah, but we still say the same generation. Like,
but the stigma
it's
attached.
Bad. Yeah, it was bad.
And the truth is, there's a lot of people out there, and I would imagine you're getting this back from the release of the book, that have either a family member, they're suffering, and it doesn't have to be schizophrenia, but the fact that people just kind of try to sweep that under the carpet is the biggest problem today in our society.
Yeah.
And we don't take care of our mental health the way we take care of our physical health.
Yeah.
You know, if you had a brother who was in a wheelchair, you would probably have been more apt to talk about him before you talked about somebody who had a mental...
1,000,000%. Yep.
Which is not
And it's
weird.
horrible. That's a horrible thing to even say. I hate even admitting it.
So even talking about this, and it came out in the book, did you have a problem convincing your mom that this is something you should talk about?
No. This is my life, so this is something I need to deal with.
But she's from one generation beyond. Maybe this is not something you share. She was okay and comfortable with sharing it?
To be honest, Howie, I didn't even ask.
But she knows now.
The whole world knows now.
Right.
And I'm glad it's out there.
How did your brother react?
My brother's been calling me a lot. He's been FaceTiming me. You know?
So you have a good relationship?
Oh, I've always had a good relationship with my brother.
About you writing about it. Is he accepting of that?
Yeah.
Good. He should be.
100%.
There is nothing embarrassing about illness. Yeah. Any kind of illness. You know, it's kind of funny. I always talk about the fact that if you go, I have a bad back, everybody has a chiropractor and everybody has a bad back. If you say I have... I just got diagnosed with Parkinson's, or somebody in the family did, nobody has a problem with that.
Yeah.
But when you talk about these kind of issues, there is somebody that has a problem with hearing those issues.
But the thing about my brother, and like you said about stigma, but it's also like the beautiful thing about comedy, and especially the reason why I talk about my family so much, I didn't even realize how much therapy I was giving myself. You know what I mean? To be able to be on stage and laugh about certain situations that were obviously so traumatic in my life, like when my sisters left the house. I always say that on stage. I go, me just telling that joke to everybody about my sisters getting, basically kicked out of the house at 17. Like, do you think that was a funny situation when I was a kid? No, I was crying. It was traumatic to see my two sisters leave the house. But for me to get on stage and tell everyone else my story and laughing about it, and then at the end of the show having women coming up to me going, I left the house at 16. Then I knew I wasn't alone. And then not only that, they were laughing at it. So like we're all kind of like healing from that situation.
Here's the dichotomy about what we're living in right now. And I wonder if you ever worry about it. Jackie always asks when comedians are on, do you worry about getting canceled or because the thing about comedy, and I've always said this, always comes from a dark place. If you're a little kid laughing at a clown falling down, you're laughing at the misfortune of this person you don't know falling and maybe even getting hurt.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell a joke of two guys walking into a bar, it's not a joke unless something awkward and horrible you tell happens to that guy.
Yeah.
So comedy always comes, anybody who's a comedian has had, dark, any human being has had darkness in their life.
Yeah.
You mind the funny out of that darkness.
Yeah.
So there is nothing... It used to be this way. There is nothing off limits. There is no such thing as too soon. For me, I needed to make fun and find the funny in it to even survive it.
Yeah.
And if I'm not laughing, then I'm crying. So